I frequently hear from small businesses about matchmaking events that they've been to, right? They tell me that it was a good event, they had a great time, they met a lot of folks, but rarely can I hear people point to any real value that they got out of the matchmaking event, that they got out of attending, right? They attend, it's great, but what value did it get out of it, right? Does that sound familiar with some of your experiences? You shouldn't go shopping, right? Think about this. You shouldn't go to the grocery store and go shopping without a list. You wouldn't make dinner or a particular meal without a recipe. And it's the same thing with matchmaking events, right? You really want to have a recipe for success. And that's what I'm going to give you is a recipe for success at matchmaking events so that what you're planning and what you want, that great meal, the success of the matchmaking event happens. There are three ways that you can prepare for a matchmaking event, that you can prepare to ensure that you're going to get the value out of the event you want. The first thing is to make your company look good before you go to this event. The second thing is to reach out early to engage with teammates and buyers and potential buyers before you attend the event. And then the third thing is to plan for your success. Determine in your head, begin with the end in mind. What do you want from that event? I'm going to talk about all three of those today as we go forward. One thing to keep in mind as well is that this is one of a 5-part series that I'm doing on matchmaking this. It's this week, so it's May 1st, 2023. So whenever you watch it, but for those of you who are live, this week we're doing 5 days in a row. And I'm pretty excited about it because they're building on each other. So make sure you register to attend. Certainly make sure you join me and attend live because I'd love to have you in there watching the rest of the training. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. Matchmaking is just a process, and you can have repeatable, predictable results from a matchmaking event. Before we get started, do me a favor, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name into the chat, put your core competency, 2 or 3 words that describe what your business sells, products, services, etc. And if you're open to connecting here on LinkedIn, do me a favor, let us know that as well. As you're doing that, I just want to say thank you to the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. We are not funded by the government. We're not funded by large primes. We're self-funded. People like you and me make this possible, make this training possible for small businesses all across the country. And so I just want to say thank you to the sustaining members. When you think about a matchmaking event and you're preparing for a matchmaking event, one of the first steps you should take is make sure that your company looks good to buyers and teammates when they come looking at you. This is really important because often we'll go out and we'll put a lot of effort into trying to network, but we won't pay attention to what do we look like when they come back to us. And it doesn't take a lot of work for us to make ourselves look good. I describe it as being visibility, of being findable and attractive. And when I say attractive, what I really mean is that your company is matching. You're attracting the buyer because you're matching the intent of what they thought they would experience with your company when they saw. So, for example, if you reach out and you say, "Hey, we're a cybersecurity firm," and they come back to look at you, then what your marketing material reflects should be a cybersecurity company. That's what I mean by attractive, and that's what I mean by making sure you look good to buyers and teammates. Is that when they look back, they see a government contractor who's in the core competency space that you talk about, right? So let's talk about why it's so important. And actually, I just drove this down a little bit already, but why it's important to sit there and look good to buyers and look good to teammates is that they're going to do their due diligence. Due diligence is just if you reach out to somebody and say, "Hey, I want to meet with you," or if they talk with you and they see whether they want to talk to you further, they're going to do their due diligence the same way you would. Do I want to keep talking to this person? And it's not, do I like them or dislike them? It's like, is there a match? Is it worth my time to keep talking to them? I get people who connect with me on LinkedIn and I quickly ignore. I'm not being a jerk, but the stuff they're asking for, the stuff they do is so far unrelated to government contracting. I'm like, you and I have nothing in common. And if there's no personal message, then I certainly am not connecting. But I did my due diligence by looking at them and going, yeah, there's not a fit. You want to make sure when buyers and teammates look at you, they see that fit. It's also a great way to make a first impression before you ever talk to somebody. In this case, right, if somebody's going to be looking at you, whether it's because they see you on a potential matchmaking list or because you go to the event and you see them, when they come back, you have this chance to make a first impression or a second or a third impression, and you want those impressions to be good. So let's talk about how, and I've got 5 steps that I want you to, maybe take a note on this. 5 steps of how you can look good to buyers and teammates when they come looking at your company. The first place, the number one place, is the Dynamic Small Business Search, DSBS. It's an extension of SAM. If you've been here and you've heard me say this before, you will never hear me stop talking about it until the government gets rid of the tool. It's the most important market research tool. And let me tell you how great it is if you do what I tell you. I have a customer and somebody who's very active in our community here. She got her DSBS profile rocking, her and her company, they got it rocking. So it communicated what they did. They do SharePoint, ironically, right? And then she went off to the Navy Gold Coast last year and they scheduled a bunch of matchmaking sessions. And when they met and sat down with Navy buyers on the other side of the table, the first thing that she noticed is that they had her DSBS profile printed out and they were telling her, I like how it's really clear what you do and I can see some of your experience. These people, these buyers are looking in DSBS. And so you just want to make it look good. So, you might see her in chat say it. I didn't ask her if I could say her, talk about her company yet, but I'm sure she'll say something in chat and say it's totally fine. But if you want to see a good profile, take a look at hers when she puts it into chat. The second place you want to sit there and look good is your LinkedIn personal profile. There's a personal profile, you, and a company profile. I don't actually care as much about the company profile because not many people go there. People buy from people, not companies. And so folks are going to come to your personal profile and go, well, who is this person, Neil? Right? And they want to look in there. And there's some basic things you can do to make yourself look good to somebody showing up. A banner, for example, that maybe has a couple of keywords or a message that says, hey, here's what we do, and it's what you think we do, right? A headline that's right below your name. Here's what I do, or here's what we do to support our customers. As you come down, there's a featured section, and this is where I'll stop. I just want you to pay attention. In featured, you should be putting in your capability statement. You should put in maybe a key case study or something like that that showcases your expertise. Third place, you want to go in and make sure that it's good to go so that when buyers look and they're doing their due diligence, you look good to them, is the website. Just go into your website, make sure it has your basics, product features explained, et cetera, and make sure there's an easy way for them to be able to see the important information regarding you as a government contractor, your cage code, your UEI, your capability statement. If you've got contract vehicles, if you've got a clearance, put all that on one page. Even if you put it on multiple pages, make sure it's at least on one page, even if it's the about page. Somewhere that it's easy for a market researcher or somebody coming in just doing quick due diligence on you, they can quickly begin to get a good understanding of you. The third place was company website. Fourth place is the capability statement. I want you to take a look at that and 2 things about it. Make sure your capability statement looks good. I'll talk more about it in a second. But what I mean by looking good is make sure it doesn't say everything. Have it just say your core competency. I told you to put that in the chat. And if you do this, it'll look good to them. They'll be able to quickly, people only have 2, 4, 6 seconds at most to consume your content before they move on to something else, right? Think about how we look at LinkedIn now or Facebook and we're scrolling, even YouTube, right? We're scrolling till something captures our eye, unless they're coming. But our attention spans, it's not so much our attention spans are shorter. We just demand you to capture them in a shorter amount of time. The second thing is make sure that capability statement is everywhere. Put it on your website, like I said. Put a link to your website on your email address, your signature line. Put it onto your LinkedIn profile. Put it onto your LinkedIn company page profile. Put it out there wherever you can and make sure it's easy for buyers and teammates to get access to so that you look good when they come and see you. They're able to see what you do, where you've done it, et cetera. And the last place is supplier portals. You want to look good in a supplier portal, any supplier portals that are related to the event you're attending. So if you're going to HHS, they've got an event for small businesses, vendor outreach with matchmaking. First supplier portal you want to make sure you're in is HHS's. They have their own supplier portal. If you haven't done this already, you can go to our website, www.govconchamber.com, and on there you will find 3 free e-directories that are easily worth tens of thousands of dollars each. And one of them is the supplier portal. If you go in there, you'll find the supplier portal list, and it'll have all these supplier portal links or links to supplier portals for many large firms and many agencies. Anyways, take a look at that. If you're looking at an HHS event, obviously get on theirs, but also look at who you're attending the event with. Are they going to have some large primes there? Make sure you're on their portal if it makes sense and you want to work for them. But make sure you're in there on the supplier portals that are related to the event you're going to, so that when somebody is doing due diligence, you look good by seeing that you're in there, you're prepared to work with them. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. The first step in preparing for a matchmaking event, to have success in a matchmaking event, is making sure your company looks good to buyers and teammates. The second step for when you're trying to prepare for matchmaking events is to reach out early to those people you plan on meeting. There's all sorts of people you could meet at a matchmaking event. There's the organizers who are part of an agency, and let's just use HHS for the moment. There's the people organizing it. Then there's, actually, let me switch over to DHS because I know names here. In DHS, you got the people who are organizing it. Let's say it's the OSDBU office or something. And then you've got the government small business or acquisition people or even program office people who will be there, and they might be named. They might let you know ahead of time. And then you've got all these attendees who might be there. You might have large primes who are going to have a table or something. You're going to have all sorts of small businesses that are there. Whoever you have a chance to reach out to and you know who they are, reach out early. And the reason this is important is because people do business with those they know, like, and trust. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. And so when you reach out early, you're starting that process early of helping them get to know you, to like you, and to trust you, right? And so begin that process early before you even attend the event. At the event, it's going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of people there. Some events are really well attended, 200-300 people, 400 people maybe. And, it's the things that you're going to be able to do any kind of real networking, certainly with the government side when you get there, is minimal, right? The chances are minimal. But if you do it ahead of time, you'll be the only one reaching out to these folks. So let me give you 5 ways that you can reach out to people before you go to a matchmaking event, so that when you get to the matchmaking event, they're already primed. They already know who you are and they want to begin to chat with you. You don't have to worry about getting them to know you. So 5 ways you can do this. First way is, not 5 ways, 5 ways that all of them you should do. So the first one is to create a plan. I want you to create a plan around your efforts and who you want to meet. I described this a little bit already, saying, look, if there's a program, especially conferences, you see who's going to attend or exhibit or things like that. But on the matchmaking sessions or vendor outreach sessions, you'll see them often say, hey, who's going to be at our event. And so create a plan around that. Who do you want to meet? Who are the most important people you're trying to get out and meet? If I was going to DHS, for example, I might want to reach out to the OSDBU. Well, I know that Darlene Bullock is there. She's the director of DHS OSDBU office, right? And then there's these other people I'm aware of. I can begin to try to maybe reach out to them, or I just determine I want to reach out to them. I might also just look into FPDS or somewhere and see who's winning at DHS or who's winning at the component that I want to work with, and see if any of those primes are going. And if they're not, I can still try to reach out with them. The second point is to engage with these people on LinkedIn. When you create a plan and you're determining who do I want to meet with, engage with them on LinkedIn. Engagement could be something as simple as just giving them a thumbs up on some content they put out. I just engaged with somebody, I think it was in DHS, one of the components, in the CISO shop, so cybersecurity side of the house. In the CISO shop, they were posting on LinkedIn. I'm out there, I'm engaging, giving it a thumbs up. If I wanted to do further engagement, I can engage with the post that he just wrote with my own comments and begin to kind of have that dialogue softly there through commenting. And that's the second way you can engage on LinkedIn. And then I can also follow somebody I'm interested in beginning to reach out to early. And when I say follow in LinkedIn, you can follow somebody or connect. When you say follow, you're just saying, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm going to follow the content that you're putting out. But LinkedIn lets them know, hey, Neil, Sally just followed you. Hey, Sally, Neil just followed you. And it's a way to engage somebody and let them know you're interested in what they're talking about. You're softly saying, I'm interested in learning more and working together at some point. The third way is you can call people on the long range acquisition forecast. And this is a great way to reach out to those early. You can tell these folks on the long range acquisition forecast, and this is a little spin, if you will, but reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in seeing you and looking forward to seeing you at the event. If they're there, that's great. You can have that. But if they're not there, they might come back and say, well, I'm not going to be at that event. Well, shucks, you're not going to be at that event. How about can we catch 15 minutes then on the phone instead? Okay. But I mean, use the event as a way to engage with people on the long range acquisition forecast for the opportunities you're interested in, whether it's in 6 months or 6 years, maybe 6 years a little long, but like 2 years out, right? Still engage with them. Just reach out and say, I'm interested in seeing you at the event. The next one that I want you to pay attention to, and this is a way you can reach out early to a lot of people and do it a little more blindly if you don't actually know everybody out there. You can promote the event on LinkedIn, and just not a little bit, but you can promote it a lot and win points with that agency and with the organizers and with other businesses who are interested in the event, right? By promoting it on LinkedIn, you could do something as simple as just reshare the event out there, or you can reshare it with your own comments, or you can create your own post that is basically just leading people back to the registration for that agency, but you're making it a little more exciting. I do that sometimes. The government puts out a really boring document. I spice it up with some images or graphics and send it out, and people in my network love it. But really, all I'm doing is regurgitating the agency's document and sending people back to that agency saying, learn more from them. Well, you could do something similar. You don't have to spend a lot of time, but if you got a little time and do that, then you're driving people back to the event. The organizers will appreciate it. You can also, one other kind of way that's a great way of networking is you can reach out before you even do it and say, would you be okay if I promoted your event? Right? This is a networking tip. Of course they're going to be okay, but you might as well reach out and get a little credit for doing this. You're not doing it altruistically. You're doing it because you want to build a relationship within that agency and with others who are going to get access to it. Okay, so the fifth way, the last way, is to reach out and ask, what else you should read besides the how to do business with DHS or something. And so before you go to these events and you're registering out a couple of weeks, a month out, reach out, pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, I'm looking at this stuff. I'm coming. I want to be very prepared when I sit across the table from, your buyers or whoever. What else can I read? Are there strategic plans? Are there something else? The whole point of it is to just reach out and ask a question, because the question gets you the matchmaking before you even go to the event. If you can call and reach out to some of these people, then they'll talk with you for 5 to 15 minutes, answering your question. Well, that's a matchmaking session. So you've just got a matchmaking without going to the matchmaking. So there's ways you can do that. You can choose who you want to, going back to that idea of calling people whether you know they're going to be there or not. If DHS is hosting an event and I want to work with people at CBP, I might reach out to a couple of people in CBP saying, again, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the headquarters event, matchmaking event. You got a booth there, et cetera. And I just wanted to find out how I can prepare more. They might tell you how to prepare more. They might tell you they're not going to be there. Either way, you're engaging with them. And so the second way of really ensuring success at a matchmaking event by preparing for the matchmaking event is to reach out early to the buyers and teammates you wish you could talk to when you get there. It's warming them up and getting them going. Okay, so the last way, the third way that you can prepare for a matchmaking event to ensure success is to plan for the success of the event. Don't just let it happen, right? And so let's talk about why this is important. I don't know if you've read this, and I don't know if I have it handy, but I've got a book, and it's a great book for you to read at some point. It's a sales book, most importantly, but hope is not a strategy, right? You can't sit around and hope for success. You can't sit around and hope things go the way that you want them to go. Make them go the way that you want to. And the easiest way to make something go your way, by the way, is help enough other people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. It's not about taking from other people. It's about helping enough other people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. But you must plan for the success you want. And this is what I want to talk to you today about, right? I want you to make matchmaking events a successful event. In sales meetings, I say you want to have a successful sales call, not just a great call. And remember, at the beginning of this training, I said a lot of people will say, oh, I went to the matchmaking event. It was great. I met a lot of people. It was a lot of networking, moving around. I was able to share my capability statement. Well, that's a great matchmaking event, but it's not a successful matchmaking event. What is a successful matchmaking event, right? Do you even know? Do you define that? Well, I'm going to talk about that in 2 seconds, right? But the more typical experience of a matchmaking or an attendee at any event like this, even big conferences, we go, we have hope that it'll be a great one, and we come back. It's like, well, why don't we sit there and say, I'm going, and this is exactly my measurements of success. And then I go and I come back and I look at my measurements of success to see if I achieve them. If I lay out the measurements of success, then there's a really good chance my activity at the event are going to lead to me achieving that success. So let's talk about 6 tips I have for how you can prepare for that or plan for that successful event. So the first thing is work with your colleagues. If you've got a little bigger company, like 5, 10, 50 people, whatever, work with whoever's got a stake in this and say, what do we want? What does our company want? What are we trying to achieve by going to this event? I often hear people talk about planning out like next year. Hey, where are we spending our marketing money? Which events are we going to? Who cares? What do you want from the events? If you don't have a goal, if you don't have a want, then why go anywhere, right? But if you're going to that Air Force conference, if you're going to the Department of Homeland Security's vendor outreach session and doing matchmaking, that's cool, but that's not a goal. It's not measurable. What do you want? One way that I recommend you consider doing goal planning, right? And let me see if I pull up my thing here. I want to show you this one graphic. When I do goal planning and I'm going somewhere to a matchmaking event, and matchmaking event, by the way, that's just one portion of it. Usually there's vendor outreach session, meaning they're talking to you. There's other than matchmaking activity going on. There's networking. And so I look in here, if I'm going to a matchmaking event though, I might say to myself, okay, what am I trying to get out of this event? Do I need to do additional research that I haven't been able to do on the internet? Am I trying to find the names of people who are just really elusive, like who's in charge of SharePoint at FEMA, something like that, right? Am I having problems getting in the door, people taking calls? So, okay, my objective there is to get somebody who will champion me in and actually help me get in and have a meeting, right? Am I struggling with finding opportunities that fit my business? Well, I want to go in there and learn about opportunities or figure out who do I talk to, et cetera. And so when you have something like that laid out, when you look at the 7-step process, you can set an objective based on any one of those 7 steps or multiple. Once you have that, then I want you to prepare questions about that agency, right? You want to talk to them about the agency more than you want to talk to them about a particular opportunity, et cetera. When you go in and you're talking about an opportunity, imagine this, you're sitting around with 100 other people, 200 other small businesses are coming in, they're all asking questions. How can that person on the other side really be able to talk to you about it? I always talk about the main goal that I want when I go to a matchmaking event, and I'll talk about this later in future trainings, but I want to be able to get a follow-up meeting with the person on the other side. That alone would be a win for me. If they can literally introduce me to somebody else, that would be even better if it's going towards the office, program office, or whatever that I want. But I need to have questions, and I've done a whole training on this that you can go watch. I think it's called spin selling and cold calling, where I talk about how do you write questions down so that when you go into the meetings, you're able to remember what you want to ask. When you sit down at a matchmaking event, you've got it right in front of you, and you can say, hey, I wrote down 5 questions. I'm hoping to be able to knock them out with you as we go through this matchmaking session. Sounds good. The 4th way out of 6 is to have the questions lead to the follow-up, right? And so one of the type of questions I like to ask are ones that can't quite be answered right there, flat out, that person needs to go check. That person needs to go learn more. If you ask a question like that, it's leading the conversation in the direction that the only outcome is, well, why don't we connect offline? How about I follow up with you? How about we get on the phone and we try to deal with that answer outside of matchmaking? Because your goal in matchmaking is not to go there, sit down, and then hope a contract falls in your lap. Your goal of matchmaking, theoretically, is to go there and build a relationship, the very start of a relationship that can lead to the next call and lead to the next meeting. Sales in the government takes a long time, and so you don't need to make a sale right away. You just need to have these sequential meetings or these meetings that just keep happening one after the other that allow you to keep learning about the agency or learning about the opportunity. The 5th one is I want you to use a 14-point font on your capability statement. Your capability statement needs to be 6-second capability statement. So part of planning for success is to make it very easy for the buyer who's sitting on the other side to, like, in 4 seconds, 6 seconds, figure out exactly what you are. If you do it the way I designed this capability statement, you're not going to win any graphic awards, but they'll know instantly that you're procurement ready, what you sell, who you sell it to, and how to move forward, right? Who to introduce you to, if not to talk with you. And I do a whole separate training. In fact, I did it just last week on the capability statement and how to make it readable in 6 seconds. So people instantly know who you are and what you sell and how they can help you, right? And how you can help them. But most importantly, usually the person you're talking to at a matchmaking event is not the one you're going to work with. They're going to pass you somewhere else. You want them to be able to go, oh, that's John or that's Jane who's you should talk to. And the last thing is just keep in mind when you're doing your preparation and you're planning for success, know who's going to be there at these events beyond your confirmed matches, government and industry. So if you're going to matchmaking and they say you get 3 picks, well, what are the other 25 picks? Those are the 25 people I would be reaching out to ahead of time. Hey, we're not meeting, but I'd love to chat with you. No one does this. No one picks up the phone and calls other people these days. And when I say no one, I'm exaggerating, but almost nobody. And so if you know who's going to be there besides the people you're actually meeting with, then you can make a point of also trying to put them on your radar. Just because you didn't get a match doesn't mean you can't meet them, right? So keep that in mind. If you want success at matchmaking events, you need to prepare by making your company look good, reaching out early to buyers and teammates to engage with them, and then finally planning for that success, not just letting it happen to you. If you find my training valuable, do me a favor, become a sustaining member today. When I'm done with these 5 trainings that I'm doing, this matchmaking series, I'm going to make it available as a mini course to the sustaining members in the library. And then also, if your company's already making money in the federal space and you want help going to the next level, reach out to me about our BD Accelerator workshop. We can help take you to that next level. Just reach out on LinkedIn, send me a message, and we can talk. Remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.